This year, we grew Japanese indigo in our aquaponics system. We grew it using the deep water system in our greenhouse because there's shading in a greenhouse, and Japanese indigo loves to have some shade. We harvested 2 different times from the system. So we dedicated 16 square feet using the floating raft method, and we were able to harvest initially about a little over 10 pounds that we used for dye vat. And then with the remaining that we left to go to flower and seed, I decided to do a little experiment using the salt extraction method. It is important when you're doing fresh leaf dyeing with salts that you use the best leaves possible. So nice, dark and green, no visible damage on the leaves. For my t-shirt that I'm dyeing here, I used about a pound and a half of leaves. And the t-shirt itself is 50% cotton and 50% poly. It'll be interesting to see how the color works out. Once I picked out the best leaves, then I poured about a teaspoon, maybe a teaspoon and a half of salt, I didn't exactly measure, over the leaves, and then just began to squeeze the leaves gently. And the idea is to get all of that salt around the leaves and squeeze. As you squeeze, the blue starts to come out. I have learned that it's a good idea to actually do this in stages, so you add a handful of leaves at a time. Makes it easier. And then you press and squeeze. You can see the blue starting to come out. So the salt method is great because it allows you to dye with just fresh leaves. It isn't as color fast as using the fermentation method, which is what the vat is. But I really do love this method because it allows you to really understand how the leaves work. And you still get pretty good result depending on how much leaves you use. But this really requires a lot of leaves for you to cover a decent amount of fabric, as I've learned. So that's all the blue coming out. It actually looks like aquamarine more than blue at this stage. I initially started with about a pound of leaves actually, and it wasn't enough to cover the entire t-shirt. It gave a mottled tie-dye look, but there was still some parts of the t-shirt that was white, and I really wanted full coverage. So I went back, harvested about another half a pound of leaves, and added a little bit more salt, and got to squeezing again. And what I'm trying to get here is for the entire t-shirt to be covered in blue. I don't want any white parts at all. So here's the final result. I really like this. I mean, I don't have full coverage, but I love the result so far. It still has the tie-dye look, but it also looks very much like denim. There's a nice deep blue to it that makes it look like denim, which I love. There it is, gorgeous. And then we'll see how many washes it takes before it fades.